I just want to start with Hanna. Clem is he's working with former political leaders and also talking with present political leaders, helping them govern. You are going to meet Anna Solberg in a few hours. What will you talk with her about?
Well, what I'd like to speak to Ms. Solberg about most importantly is the importance of investing in girls and try and understand how Norway is at the forefront of this possibility and really trying to see how Norway can be involved in really investing in girls and more educational opportunities and really see the return on that investment.
So Björn, I want to ask you, what does investing in girls have to do with environment?
Now, I think most societies where the girls are educated seems to be more harmonious, and I don't know, but I think it is very clear that investment in girls create more stable societies and also more environmental consciousness.
In your article, Hanna, your chronicle, you said that if you increase the BNP, the GDP by 0.1%, or the salary of a woman by 1%, you increase the GDP by 0.03%. So it's really a very direct effect also on the economy. But Björn, you want us to look at other things than GDP, to look at the prosperity of a country. How can we effectively do that?
I mean, it's a lot of good initiatives, of course, looking beyond GDP. And I think we just need to think. I think we need to be honest. It is simply too simple to measure only GDP as a measure for prosperity and growth. And I think it is essential. I mean, I'm talking to a lot of business leaders. And for business to factor in externalities and what they cost the society, this is not done today. And that have to be done. And they know it. And we know we have to do it. And we know how to do it. But still it is not done. And that's why leadership is so important. And we just have to factor these things into business. And we have to make it transparent. And I think everything around technology now is making things more transparent. And transparency is good for sustainability. So I'm also optimistic in that respect.
Good. And Clem, you talk with the leaders. And you have as your members leaders who no longer need to think about having the number of votes. How can they use their influence to get political leaders to dare take the necessary action to create the change needed?
I should first of all say that our members don't always work with leaders. They work with all sections of society. So when they visit a country, for example, they will meet with the current leaders, but they'll also meet with the opposition, and they'll meet with civil society groups. And they work by being able to meet with all those groups because of their previous perspective, their previous status. And they can raise the questions and explore ideas with the people today. We don't go in and say, this is what you should do. In fact, sometimes our members go in and say, I made lots of mistakes when I was in leadership. I realise now that I should have grasped the nettle and moved forward in some of these issues. So it's much more about raising questions, asking what's the consequences of the current policies? How could you introduce different policies? What are the political realities of introducing different policies? And that last point is very important because having been there and knowing the realities of politics, it's much easier for them to share and explore these ideas with current leaders and with other sectors of society.
So, but society needs to have the knowledge to stay with those leaders, the political leaders, because if you do something that does not seem to be popular among the voters, you won't be re-voted. So you have to educate the voters, Anna. How do we create a society where people have the patience to let the political leaders do the necessary make the necessary decisions?
I think it's important to educate people to be participants, that they take an active role in whichever way they do. And if we're talking about leadership, well, I guess we're talking about leadership at all levels. And at the same time, not only leadership, but being able to be a team player. So I think being a participant in whichever way you do it. And if I maybe add a little bit about what people could learn from Scandinavia, I think, where we bring the world to Scandinavia. I think yesterday I was reminded about what is it actually that Spain can give the world, is that when you see the transition that Spain had to a democracy, it's something we take for granted now, and we have to be reminded about that, and they have a model that they can show to so many parts of the world. I think what Scandinavia can give to the rest of the world is I think our society has an incredibly good balance between the various sectors, the public, the private, and the voluntary. And I think that's one of the things that we try to teach our students is how can you be a driving force within all those sectors that creates a whole and a cohesive society.
There is also room for questions from the audience. This is one of the reasons why we wanted to have a smaller site. So please think if you have any questions while I am giving some more questions here. You're welcome to raise your hands. So I want to go further with Björn because it's very impressive to see how Veritas, which is, or DNV-GL, which is such a large and technology-based organization, has managed to sort of keep going on the challenges from being a security for shipping, which was the start, I guess, and now also helping find ways of measuring impact. Can you tell us a little about the travel? Very briefly, the travel you made, the trip you went from shipping security to measuring impact.
Yeah, so I mean, we started in 1864 because it was so many lives lost at sea, and the insurers needed somebody independent to ensure that they could insure the vessels. So for 100 years, we were working with basically shipping. And then, of course, when Norway found oil in just before Christmas in '69, we expanded into the offshore and oil. And then we have seen that the last 15 years, we have seen this movement around sustainability and been increasingly aware that that is really where we can deliver our value. So today we are 17,000 people in 100 countries with 100 nationalities delivering on the same vision, a global impact for a safe and sustainable future. And that's why we see sustainability as the biggest project for the world for the next 50 years. Why kind of industrialization was the big project for the last 150 years. And it's just what we can do is to provide facts, it's to provide knowledge, but it is also to provide foresight. So we have more than 100,000 customers, and we have this dialogue with them. How can you make a change? And most of the leaders I meet, they know they have to make a change. So I think it's amazing to see also now how this resonates with the business.
I just saw while you were talking that Ravi Karkara arrived, and Ravi should have come yesterday, but there were problems with the plane. They don't work with Veritas, obviously. So Ravi, are you up to coming and take 5 minutes and talk about the world we want? Ravi Karkara is one of the initiators of the World We Want project from the UN. And please welcome Ravi, just arrived from New York. The good news is you have only 5 minutes. Welcome.
How are you?
Fine.